All right. Hey, look at that. We're on 3, 2, 1. Look at that. Hey, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Hopefully things are working smoothly. If I can get just a quick thumbs up in the chat, if you guys can hear me, see the slides, see our hosts and our presenters. Check 1, 2, 1, 2. Hey, look at that. Awesome. You guys rule. Well, let's start with some quick introductions for everybody. Um, Put myself here in the middle of everything. My name is Hector Vela. I am a teacher from Texas, and I will be the teacher host for AP Human Geography Cram Sessions. Thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate it. We know your time is valuable. We also know that you guys are here to learn, and we really, really are really grateful that you guys would trust us with your time. Um, so let's start with just quick introductions from our student hosts. People are going to be running through this, and then I'll go over just some quick basic ground rules, and then we'll get the party started. Because, like I said, we're here. We want to make sure you guys are getting your money's worth, getting your time, and stuff like that. So we'll start with our two student hosts who are going to be running tonight's preview night. Megan, you want to go first?
Sure. Hi everybody. My name is Megan. I'm from the Bay Area in California, but I'm currently in Los Angeles right now because I am a freshman at the University of Southern California. But yeah, I'll be one of your student hosts.
Hi guys, my name's Eliza. I'm from Orlando, Florida, and I'm a junior in high school, and I'm going to be your other student host tonight.
My name is Leah Skinner. I'm a sophomore in Texas, and I won't be hosting tonight. I'll be hosting the next cram session, but I'll be in the chat answering your questions.
Hey everyone, I'm Tejal. I'm also a sophomore and I'm from Utah, and I'll also be in the chat and helping out with answering questions.
All right. So kind of got a quick introduction from our hosts. Really, really grateful for them to kind of step up, take the time to, not only take all the time prepping, studying, getting materials ready for you guys, but also spending time out of their day, out of their studies. These are all kids who are either in AP classes right now, about to take the next level of AP classes, or in college, studying for things like finals and getting ready to, go on to that next level. And so really grateful for them stepping up. Before we get into the actual presentations in Cram, want to go over some basic ground rules about things we're doing tonight. So first of all, this is a study session, right? And you guys are students who, again, are not only taking time out of your days, but like out here trying to get ready for things. So want to make sure that we use our time wisely. So for example, like right now, we're really stressing about how our homie Tajal's in her car. It's not important. Tajal's working in her car and she's working, and that's all that matters. So let's make sure the chat is not only like useful but efficient. All right. Let's also make sure that we know that this is a recorded session, so it's just not worry about anything, or let's not do anything or say anything that's inappropriate, right? Um, and yeah, that's my next point. So thank you, Grant, for mentioning how you're feeling. It's all good. No worry about that, Venkata. So you guys might feel stressed. You guys might feel anxious. You guys might feel as if you are not prepared for the AP exam. It's totally cool. That's what we're here for. That's what we're doing. Um, as a teacher who's been doing this for like close to like 8 years. Um, it's one of those things where I know where you're coming from. I get it. I've seen students in your position all year. I've seen students who, maybe haven't studied. I've seen students who maybe haven't done any work. I've talked to students whose teacher also left at the beginning of the semester. I know it's tough. So just understand that we're here to help you. We're going to get you guys prepared as best we can. Tonight is only a preview. And so I know a lot of y'all have questions. So I'm going to cover some basic ones before we get started. This is a preview night. And so we're only going to cover a section of Unit 2. Our next preview night, we're only going to cover a section of Unit 6. If you guys want to get the entire lesson, you have to come to our actual cram nights happening May 2nd through May 6th. All right. Um, as far as specific scope for tonight, you'll see that as we go through the units, but we'll be covering some individual topics along with a short cram session, quiz at the end to kind of get the nitty gritty out of the way. And you guys are always welcome to keep asking questions that you're asking in the chat. Feel free to ask them as much as we can, and we'll get to them as soon as possible. We'll also be dropping some polls, dropping some surveys at the end, just trying to keep you guys engaged. Yeah. I see you. I got you. Don't worry about the indicators. Don't worry about the vocab. Don't worry about all that. I promise we're gonna get you. I know. Tonight's session is only gonna be an hour long. All right. So that being said, I want to make sure we get you guys started so we get that ready. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Me, Leah, and Tejal are going to be in the wings answering questions, answering all those vocab questions. I see fertility rate, things like indicators, demographics. We got y'all. Don't worry about it. But for now, I'm going to let Megan and Liza take over so we can get started. All right. Nobody's cooked. I promise. Nobody's cooked. Y'all are going to be good. Don't worry about it. All right. All right. Go for it, Megan, whenever you're ready.
Okay, everybody. Again, we're going to be working on Unit 2 today. This is just our preview session, so it's going to be shorter, only an hour. We're going to go over topics pretty fast, too, because we do have a lot to cover in a very short time. So, again, the slides have a lot of extra detail on it. The slides will be available to you after this, and you can always go back and review them. We just don't have time to just go over everything on the slides, but we will be going over the most important topics. So our community agreements, we all just we're all learning here. We're all getting guys ready for the AP test. We're gonna be supportive, be patient, be kind. Like we're all just here to one, have fun, and two, review our AP Human Geo stuff. Just be nice. We're all real people. Just be nice. Okay, and then how to make the most of a cram finale. So notes, I do recommend taking notes during these 5 full cram sessions. It's very helpful. If you want to make mnemonics questions or study to-do lists, you could totally do that. All very helpful. The My Stuff tab has all the slides, review packet, and replays for you, and it's definitely good to kind of remember that so you can always follow along. In this group chat is for sharing tips, tricks, and participate when we ask questions. And the Q&A tab, pretty straightforward. It's for asking any question, and you can always check the comments for answers because we will be going through and answering different Q&A questions. And of course, we'll take breaks. We get it. We've all been in your position before. It's a lot to just do this for a whole hour. So yeah, of course we'll take breaks. Don't worry. Some of our Crowdcast features. We have our chat, which is, I can see everyone in the chat right now. You can chat with your fellow attendees and hosts. We will also be monitoring the chat. So just if you have a question or a comment or something that you want us to address, totally put it in the chat or the Q&A. And yeah, in the Q&A. And you can also upvote questions in the Q&A that you want answers to, which is a very important Crowdcast feature that we have with Fiveable. Definitely upvote a question if you see a question that you're like, oh, I have the same question, and you just also want it answered. Definitely upvote. That's very helpful. And we'll also be doing some polls, some questions, some practice throughout the Crowdcast. So if you do see a poll, answer it. Our cram schedule for AP Hug. So this is a preview session right now. It's a very short 1-hour preview session and it's free. We also have another session for Unit 6 on the 29th. And then that first week of May, we get into those 3-hour long, more intensive sessions. So that's May 2nd, we'll be covering Units 1 and 2, May 3rd, 3 and 4, May 4th, May the 4th be with you, Units 5 and 6. May 5th, we're gonna cover Unit 7 and we're gonna review. And then May 6th, we're gonna really just do a very heavy comprehensive review and do some more exam practice. And here are all our wonderful student hosts and student designers and teacher hosts. Okay, and then finally, our agenda for today. We did the welcome. We're gonna go over some content. We're gonna do a little quiz. Then we're gonna take a short break. We're gonna go over some content, take a quiz, and then at the end we're gonna do a Q&A, and then we will say farewell to you all. And follow Think Fiveable on social media. Yeah. And then, okay, so for this is Unit 2, Population and Migration. It was Eliza and I, it's our favorite unit for AP Human Geo, but also it is a very important unit that you guys all need to have a really good grasp on, because a lot of topics, as you probably know because you've been in the class, build on Unit 2. This is going to be 12 to 17% of the exam, so that's a pretty big chunk. So the topic 2.1 we're going to go over first. That's understanding population distribution. And the learning objectives here is identifying the factors that influence the distribution of human populations at different scales, and defining methods that geographers use to calculate population density, which is a really important term. Okay, so first we're going to go over population distribution. So it's really important that you guys know the difference between population distribution and population density. People often get the two confused. I saw it happen a lot in my class. So like it was something that my teacher went over a lot and I had to study myself a lot. So distribution is going to be a spatial pattern. So it's like AKA the spread of people across the earth. This is going to be more, think like qualitative, more pattern based. Population density is going to be like a ratio of people to physical space. So that's going to be more quantitative, you know? So it's going to, yeah, so it's going to be like how crowded a place is. So it's going to involve numbers opposed to distribution, which is a pattern. Some physical factors, I'm going to go through these pretty quickly. It's pretty straightforward. Early survival depended on food, water, and shelter, and today is not much different. So physical factors, we're going to have, fresh water, lakes, like that's pretty straightforward. You can also read the entire slide if you want more information. But I'm going to go over this term really quick over here. So it just says inhabited land on the slide, but it's also defined as land permanently populated by human societies. So an example of this could be urban areas, or like more specifically cities with dense populations. And it can also refer to industrial and agricultural land that is permanently used to sustain a human population. So that's just something you want to keep in mind, because even though there's like a concrete definition for it, it can also like mean another thing, or like it could also be a helpful thing to keep in mind if this term comes up on an FRQ and you actually have to process it and then write about it. It's helpful to know that. For human factors, this is a little less straightforward, I think. But so at first, people settled near natural resources, but eventually the people themselves became an attraction. So jobs, family, friends, stuff like that. And throughout history, we've seen that people prefer to live close to trade routes. So because those often will be closer to trade networks, roads, trains, lines, rivers, and etc. And in politics, like a real world example, we'll see this is right here is an example of the Canadian military base, which is called Alert, and it's the most northern community in the world. So that is an example. Next, we're going to look at arithmetic population density. So we're going to go over arithmetic population density, physiological population density, and agricultural population density. And these three are really important. Oftentimes people get them confused because they all kind of deal with land and population, and I got confused when I was learning them. So we're gonna go through and define each one. So arithmetic population density is going to be the total number of people divided by the total area of a place. And that's usually going to be expressed in people per square mile or kilometer, depending on the situation. And physiological density, population density, is going to be the number of people per unit area of arable land. And it's really important that you guys know that physiological density is going to be per unit of arable land. So that's land that's farmable and suitable for growing crops. It's also going to be used to determine the region's carrying capacity. So, and you guys also probably know what carrying capacity is, but that's going to be how many people like the land can support without environmental deterioration and just like sustainably. Yeah, and it also can provide insight into food security. Physiological population density. This is the real world example. So some countries can't produce enough food, so they don't really have, and they might not have enough arable land. So Egypt and Japan specifically, they often will import their food from other places. Specifically Egypt, they're going to have like very limited arable land because a lot of their land is dry. So they're going to take they're going to outsource like a lot of their food and stuff. So you guys can see like the other details about like the physiological density and arithmetic density So we just wanted to ask you guys to put in like the chat, like what does Egypt's arithmetic, physiological, and agricultural density look like? And which of the three would most accurately describe Egypt's population density? Yeah, you guys can just like type thoughts in the chat. Yeah, so yeah, it's gonna be dry and everything, and yeah, it's gonna be dry. It's not non-farmable and all that. So yeah, like basically what we're seeing in the chat is I really like the insight and everything. So okay, and now we're gonna look at the one of our practice MCQ questions. So this is going to be if the physiological density is larger than the arithmetic density, then the country has, and then we have A, B, C, and D. So we're going to have 2 minutes to figure this out, and you guys can just think about whether it's A, B, C, or D, and then we'll talk about and explain the answer at the end.
You guys are doing great in the chat. I love those responses. Eva, don't worry, we'll be going over it at the end. Ooh, we're seeing some different answers now. Good job, guys. Love the helping each other in the chat. Awesome job, everybody.
Okay, so I think a lot of you guys got it. I think it was between like A and B, but it's going to be A. So this is basically, this question is basically the same as like our Egypt example from the last slide. And this is most likely the scenario where the physiological density is higher than the arithmetic density. So it's going to suggest that a larger population is concentrated on a smaller land area suitable for agriculture. So that implies a limited amount of unusable farmland. And again, if you want to review like the last slides are available to you. And that's going to show like a direct example of this, which is why we have this question right now.
Hey y'all, sorry to butt in, Megan. You guys are doing great. Appreciate everybody's hard work, and the chat's looking awesome. I just wanted to hop in real quick to let you guys know a couple of things. I'm gonna go ahead and put these slides in, well, an easier way to click so you guys can have access to them a lot sooner. That's my fault for not doing it. I appreciate you guys asking about the notes, asking about these. You guys are awesome. I got you. 1 second, Ayush. I see you, bro. I got you. I just want to say that apologies for that because, like I said, this is a preview night, and so we're trying to figure out how to do these things, right? So yeah. Anyways, go back to Megan. You're doing awesome, everybody. Thanks for the participation in the chat. Keep it up. Sorry again for interrupting.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. So moving on to agricultural population density. So agricultural population density is going to be the average number of farms on arable land in an area. So, for example, like if we're just putting it into a statement, we could say like, oh, the U.S.'s agricultural density is 1 farmer per square mile. And so this is going to also provide an indication of the efficiency of the region's farmers, which is really important. But we're going to get into that on the next slide. So this is a really good slide on how like you can apply agricultural population density. So you can always go back to this. But in developed countries, there's going to be fewer farmers because often more developed countries are going to have way more technology and more advanced machinery and everything. So they're going to actually have fewer farmers, but more output. And in less developed countries, because they might not be as technologically advanced, they're going to have more manual labor. So they're going to have more farmers, but the output might be less because, again, they don't have that machinery. Okay, and here we go. This exactly, it relates to the last slide. So I think we're going to put up a poll this time for you guys to do. Yep. And so just vote A, B, C, or D, and we're going to start the timer.
Let's try to go in the pool this time, guys. Thank you. Thanks, Eva. Yes, the poll is on the right side menu screen. It's the 3rd option down. Oh, thank you so much. That's so sweet.
Yeah, we love AP Human Geography, and we are happy to be doing this. Trust us.
So
yeah,
much
we love it. We love the class. Yeah, and you guys are all gonna do great. So everyone, stop stressing. We got this. We're gonna get through it.
Yes, just showing up for these is awesome. You guys are taking the next step. Eva, they're the 3rd option down on the right side of the screen if you hit the polls button. Thank you, Olivia.
Yeah, low-key the music is kind of a vibe more than Kahoot, not gonna lie.
Daniel, I know that they teach this class in different grades at different places. I learned it freshman year. I know other people learned it differently.
Yeah, like for example, like I took it my senior year, so yeah. Okay, so let's look at the poll. All right, so most of you guys did get it. It's gonna be D. So it's gonna be D because this scenario is like describing a situation where there's gonna be a large amount of arable land compared to a small number of farmers. So this is gonna show that there's like a low density of farmers per unit of arable land. That's pretty straightforward. So this is gonna be like low agricultural density, which is gonna be the most fitting answer. Population density and time, I'm also going to go over this one pretty fast. Density can obviously vary by time of year. So this is like snowbirds in Florida. But also we're going to also look at, like, if you're thinking about humans, like maybe like someplace like Florida might have way more people during summer because a lot of people might travel there to like visit amusement parks, go on vacations and everything. So that's just an example. Density can also vary by time of day. So like if we're talking about commuting into major cities like Manhattan, New York, so it's going to be, yeah, so way more people are going to be there Monday through Friday because they work there during 9 to 5 jobs. So like it really will depend, but you just have to kind of keep that in mind, that density can change depending on time of year, time of day. So yeah. Okay, next 2.2. I'm sorry, guys, we're going really fast here because we don't have a lot of time. It's already 4:25, but again, slides are always available to you. Our learning objective here is going to be explaining how population, distribution, and density affect society and environment. Okay, so implication of distribution and density. So I bet you guys already understand this. We're quickly going to go over it. So overpopulation, it's when there's more people on the land than the land can support. So overpopulation, that's like a big no-no. And this is related to carrying capacity, carrying capacity, as we kind of already went over before, that's going to be kind of like the amount of people like land or a certain area can sustain without basically like destroying the environment entirely. And yeah, higher population density is going to create a strain on the environment. And there will be a question on that later. Quickly on implications of distribution and density. So when people want to live in a particular region, they will drive up the population density. So as we can see on the right with this map of like with Chicago in it, we're going to see in urban areas like Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, we're going to see very high density housing. And like it says also in those bullet points, centers of big cities are usually going to feature apartments and condos. So these are going to be smaller housing, more crowded. Like, so we're going to see buildings build up to, but everything's going to be more crowded, as opposed to places where they're going to be like non-urban areas, more rural, more spread out areas that we're going to see less like low density housing, and like houses are going to be more spread out. Okay, and then here's another practice MCQ. We are going to have a poll for that too. So if you didn't get the next one, you can definitely get this one. Remember, third icon down. And so this is, which of the following is a consequence of a region increasing in population density? We're going to start the timer. Also, I see any tips for studying with less than 2 weeks. I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. Last year, I was hit with like a horrible flu, like the month before the exam. So I didn't study until like a week before the exam, which is really bad. Please don't do that if you can help it. But I recommend, yeah, so Fiveable, read it religiously, and Fiveable, and like also, we kind of all talked about it, but all like, if you guys know Mr. Sin on YouTube and watch his AP Human Geo videos, they are so helpful. And especially if you're tired and you just need a break of just reading text, like all the Mr. Sin videos are really good. They go over all the important information like very quickly, which is really helpful, I think, to a lot of students. So yeah, Mr. Sin, yeah, we love Mr. Sin here.
And for context, you guys, Reggie and I watch Mr. Sin every day to prepare for these cram sessions. Yeah. I was playing Mr. Sin like in my AirPods the other day after I finished my work in physics class.
Okay, but yeah, Mr. Sin, very helpful, very good resource. All of his videos are amazing. I would definitely get on that if you're just exhausted from studying. You just need like a video for a break. Great resource. Definitely recommend that you guys look at those. Or if you're just reviewing like a few days before the exam, just watch them all. It really helps. It really does help. Yeah, Heimler's also great. I remember using him for a different class. Yeah, he's great. Okay. Yeah, so the answer to this one is going to be D. I think some of us got that right. So, yeah, so it's iffy, but we're totally good. So, let me explain this one. So basically, it's going to be D. So when a region increases in population density, that's going to be basically related to like overpopulation. So when like a region is going to get a lot more people into it, they're going to create strain on like all the resources there because there's so many people, right? And everybody wants the same services like schools, hospitals, all those like services you need. So, and when that does happen, these services are definitely going to decrease in quality because like there's so much strain on them and everyone wants like a piece of it, right? So there's gonna be a decreased level of services like schools and hospitals. Next, we're moving on to topic 2.3. This is the learning objectives in this one are describing elements of population composition used by geographers and explaining ways that geographers depict and analyze population composition. Okay, so I think this is really interesting. So population composition. Members of particular ethnic groups tend to cluster in particular regions. So a historical example is many cities in the United States limited the neighborhoods where African Americans could live. And like an example today in many places in the United States, many neighborhoods are named for ethnic clusters. So we like Little Italy, Chinatown, Little Havana, and we are wondering if there are any like ethnic clusters where you guys are. So like if you know of any, there are any around you, like we want you to put those into the chat so we can all kind of see different places and stuff. Like some, for example, like some near me, like Little Tokyo. There's a Little Tokyo near me. There's like Koreatown, and there's like Little Armenia. So if you guys want to like drop any into the chat, you totally can. If you don't want to, that's okay too. Yep, Chinatown. Who's Chinatown? Lots of Chinatown. Yeah, Little Tokyo, Koreatown. Mr. Sin is my king. Yeah. Does that clock count? Exactly. Love Epcot though. But okay, yeah, we'll move to the next slide and see some more examples. Yep, so here are the examples again. Little Havana, Little Italy, Little Haiti. So yeah, those are just some examples. Yeah, we can keep dumping them you can keep dumping them in the chat if you want to, but for now, like those are some examples just to give you a better idea. Population composition. Okay, so now we're going to go over scales of analysis. Scales of analysis, that's a topic that really confused me when I was in AP Human Geography, so I wanted to make sure we really went over this. It's confusing because like scales of analysis, depending on, like if you're looking at a map, depending on what scale you look at it from, you can interpret information differently. You can make different conclusions from it. It's just really important that we all understand it. So so this is an example right here. If we're looking at this map, just the general United States map, it says that the African American population is concentrated in the southeastern United States. So when we look at that, we're like, oh, okay, so it just spans those states. But then if we look at it in like a closer up view of like just Chicago, for example, we can see that there's only like clusters in large cities and particular neighborhoods. So that's really important because scales of analysis can occur on like the global, regional, national, or like on a local scale. And you have to pay attention when you're taking the exams and look to see like, okay, what, especially like in FRQ or something, when you actually have to look and explain it and interpret it, you want to look and think really think critically about, okay, it's asking me to like analyze this on a national scale, or oh, it's asking me to analyze this on a local scale, and then make sure you understand what you have to do for each of those different things. Population composition. I think this is also pretty straightforward, but basically we're going to be looking a lot at age and sex and gender. So for example, like in 2013, Utah had the youngest average age in the US at almost 30 years old, while the oldest age in Maine was like 43 and a half. And all this like age stuff can shape public policy. So it's just really good to keep in mind that age can shape public policy a lot. So like maybe there will be more policies like more surrounded like more like surrounded around like school age children in like certain states, and in other states it might be more like senior citizen services. So it's just really important to kind of pay attention to questions when they ask you about that, when they ask about age and stuff. Sex and gender stuff, just pay attention to it. Like it can be affected by wars, migraines, government policies based on like how much of each gender in a population, everything like that. Okay, quickly, I'm going to go through population pyramids because we're running out of time. So population pyramid is, you guys probably like population pyramids because they're pretty, like, I guess for me, like they're pretty easy to like to understand just by looking at it. So a population pyramid is a model that shows the age and sex demographics of a particular country, city, or neighborhood. So yeah, and then we can like really determine a lot of different things from it. We can see if maybe there was a natural disaster, a war, an epidemic, a political change. And it's one of the most useful tools to study population, which is why it's an AP Human Geo. Okay, so very quick overview. This vertical axis in the middle, it's going to show cohorts. So those are those age groups there. We're going to have males on the left, females on the right. The horizontal axis at the bottom is going to either be percentages or absolute numbers, and it's going to usually almost always be on a national scale. Okay, so again, going through these quickly because we're running out of time. These are the three different population pyramids that we most commonly see. This is expansive right here, and it's on the left right here, and it's going to be typical of developing nations with high fertility rates and lower life expectancies. So we just see it's like a very young population usually, and this is, yeah, again, typical of developing countries because a lot of people will pass away before they grow old. And I believe that is an example of Rwanda. This next one, constrictive. This is going to be typical of countries where there's like high levels of social and economic development. And yeah, there's going to be like a significant portion of the population that does have access to quality education and healthcare. So it's like a pretty balanced one. This stationary one on the right, oh, by the way, that's South Korea. Sorry, I forgot to mention that example. And on the right here, this is an example of the United States. And this is typical of developed nations with low birth rates and a high overall quality of life. And they're going to be like representing populations that are not experiencing significant growth. Yeah, there's like often, I think maybe last year, I think on the FRQ, we had one of our FRQs involved a population pyramid diagram. So it's really important to understand these population pyramids, just to like kind of recognize them and everything like that. Next slide. Okay, quickly, impact of war. So we can clearly see an impact of war usually in these population pyramids. So when there's a war, we're gonna see a lot of death that happens. So like for this one, we can see there was a death right here. There was lots of death. And even though it is typical that males like aged 18 to 40 usually do pass away, we're going to see just in general, like a general population decline. And there's just going to be birth deficits in that time because men and women are usually separated. It's like chaotic time. And so that's going to be called a birth deficit, which you guys probably know. Baby booms. So once hostilities end and peace continues, the birth rate often spikes and increases, and this is known as a baby boom. So after war and throughout history, there's almost always going to be like a baby boom and then a bust, and then like an echo will usually follow. This almost always happens, like from my research and everything. So for example, to the left here, this is a diagram from World War II, and this baby boom, which you can see right here, kind of highlighted in black, that lasted from 1946 to 1965. And because people, like, once the war is over, they start to have kids and everything again and start families. Yeah, so these are usually going to be followed by a baby bust, which continues until the boomers reach childbearing age, resulting in the bulge in the pyramid, and that's called an echo. So we're going to see the echo. If we see after the baby boom, it kind of goes in a little bit, which is the bust, and then it's going to go back out with the echo. And here we can also kind of see that in a different angle. We see the baby boom right here in the age 16 to 34 range on the left. We don't see that echo yet. And then we're going to see on the right when the baby boomers reach that age of 51 to 69, which is why we kind of have that more out part on the top right here. And there's going to be an echo in that 20 to 34 cohort down here. So it goes like boom, and then we see the bust, and then we see the echo. Okay, then we have one more practice MCQ, I think. So we're going to start the timer, and you guys can just start answering that. I believe we have to pull up too.
Yes, the music is back, Stephanie. Big fan of the music. Faith is absolutely right. They love the models on those FRQs. I think Megan and I argued both got some models in our FRQs. Let's try answering that poll, guys. Dependency ratio is going to be any portion of the population who cannot work for themselves and require outside help to support themselves financially. That would typically be younger than 15 and older than about 65 to 70.
For the question about the migration laws in the chat, it's just good for those, I think it's good that you know them, but it's also important that you know for any like term, anything, you need to know how to apply it in like a real world situation. Because you don't know if like maybe that's going to be on an FRQ and then you'll have to apply it. So, because with a lot of the like multiple choice questions, like you might be able to kind of like eliminate some, but for FRQs, you need to know how to apply it for sure. Okay, so for this, it's gonna be B, which yeah, most of you guys got that. This is gonna be this is explanation to this is that post World War II post World War II baby boom led to a significant increase in the young population, which is gonna increase the youth dependency ratio. So it's gonna be more of those like 0 to 14 aged people per like 100 individuals within the working class. So we're gonna see the increased youth dependency ratio. Okay, and I'm gonna really quickly go through these. Again, you guys have these slides, but some pyramid features that are really important that you need to look out for are longer bars for people ages 18 to 25 than for people younger or older. That's important. Longer bars, and this is like on the population pyramid, longer bars for people aged 25 to 50 than children. Then for like young children, so that's like 0 to 14. And then longer bars for people over the age of 65. That's also really important. And longer bars for males than females is also very important. And these are like possible reasons. Again, okay, so now we're going to do like a more AP style MCQ. The other ones were more knowledge based. And yeah, we're just going to go over the answer right now because we just do not have time. But so a population pyramid that is wide at the top and narrow at the bottom most likely represents which of the following populations? It's going to represent a population of retirees because we're going to see, like, if they're wider at the top, there's a lot more people who are older and elderly in the population, and there's going to be less younger people. So most likely a population of retirees. Okay, dependency ratio. Again, this is a very important term that you need to be able to apply. This is going to be a value comparing the working to the non-working parts of a population. So this is the whole formula to like solve this is going to be dividing the dependent population. So that's people aged less than 15 or older than 64 by the potential people in the workforce. That's 15 to 64. And it's going to only be a rough estimate, but it can really help you interpret different types of data. Okay, and now I'm going to hand it over to Eliza, who will be doing the rest.
Hi again, everybody. So I'm going to jump right in because we don't have a ton of time. I'm going to get through some of this, but then we're probably going to jump into a cram quiz. We probably won't get through all of this. So learning objective for topic 2.4 is going to be explaining the factors that account for contemporary and historical trends in population growth and decline. I'm going to jump right into the content because we don't have a lot of time. So measuring number of births, we are going to use two different factors. That's crude birth rate and total fertility rate. Crude birth rate is going to be the number of live births per year for each 1,000 people. And crude birth rate typically increases as a country moves along the demographic transition model. And total fertility rate is going to be the average number of children who would be born per woman of a group in a country, assuming every woman lived through her childbearing years. And in most of the world, the TFR was higher in the past than it is today. So more children meant more people to work on land, and many died as infants. So the birth rate was high, but the survival rate for those children was lower, and that has changed over time. So remember, look at this graph right here. You'll see the blue line at the very bottom of the graph is going to be the professional population, and you'll see the birth rate decreases in a more professional environment. And then at the top, you'll see mining is the highest, where people would have more and more children needed to work in, say, mines, or agriculture is also very high. And then moving on to mortality and life expectancy. The most important factor in the increase in global population is the rise in life expectancy. So as we said in the chat about, demographic transition model stage number 5, which we'll go over a little bit later, a higher life expectancy is there even though the population is still in decline. And another important factor is going to be infant mortality rate, being the number of children who die before their first birthday. And in Massachusetts in the 1850s, with your prior knowledge, you'll know that medicine was not very good at the time. Infant mortality rate was about 130 per 1,000. And today it would be about 4 per 1,000. So that's 4 per 1,000 not making it past their first birthday versus the other, I can't do math right now, but the other ratio making it past their first birthday and likely into adulthood. So why are people living longer? Well, we just said improvements in healthcare. So if you think smallpox and antibiotics, especially penicillin, I will say if you ever get an FRQ on this, knowing that penicillin is an antibiotic that greatly increased longevity in population is a great thing to have in the back of your mind. And then we'll talk about advances in public sanitation, which kind of goes hand in hand with improvements in healthcare. Spread of cholera and other diseases through water contaminated by human waste highly decreased at this time when advances in public sanitation occurred. And we'll go into solutions that made people healthier in general. One example of this was boiling water before paying for clean water through taxes was a way that we increased sanitation. And then moving into agricultural advances. So mechanized food production, improving seeds, fertilizers, and farming techniques. So that is a great thing to remember because mechanization means less people required to work on farms, meaning less children born to work on those farms. And some effects would be small farms were consolidated into one with that mechanization. Then moving on to rate of natural increase, which is very important for interpreting population pyramids. So rate of natural increase is going to be the percentage at which a country's population is growing or declining without the impact of migration. So this is solely going to be with the births and deaths of people born in that country. And the formula is going to be crude birth rate minus crude death rate divided by 10, where birth and death rates are per 1,000. For my people who aren't super good at math, don't worry, this is not too complex of an equation. Majority of the time, you will find yourself interpreting rate of natural increase rather than calculating it yourself. And going over the stuff over here on the right, population increase or decrease measured by subtracting number of deaths from births, as we just said, and they are per 1,000 people again. And then we'll talk about population doubling time using the rule of 70. So since the early 1800s, global population has been growing exponentially, and the time it takes to double in size can be estimated using the rule of 70, assuming the growth remains steady. Doubling time will be 70 divided by the growth rate per year, and that's that rate of natural increase to get your doubling time. And then we're going to move into the demographic transition model. I know this is probably not everybody's favorite, but I'm going to try and make it as relatable and as understandable as humanly possible. Learning objective here is going to be explaining the theories of population growth and decline using the demographic transition model and the epidemiologic transition model, explaining the cause of changing death rates. So demographic transition model, I won't go through all the stages right now, but I will in a minute. You are going to be able to recognize what stage a country is in solely by looking at a population pyramid. And you can see over here on the left the different stages. We will be going through each of them in a lot more detail, but it is a key tool for understanding global and regional population dynamics. And more developed countries pass through those stages first, while lower developing countries are still passing through early and middle stages. Stage 1 is going to be high stationary, and that is when birth and death rates are both very high, but they cancel each other out for a low rate of natural increase, and you'll see that blue line on the bottom of the map. And population structure is going to be very young due to that low life expectancy, and there aren't really as many examples today. So if you get asked on an FRQ for examples of this, you're either going to say scattered isolated groups, or no countries are currently in stage 1, because that is absolutely accurate. Immigration is, I'm going to make that a Q&A so that we can address that there. Stage 2 is going to be early expanding. So birth and death rates birth rate is high, but fluctuating to reflect desires for big families, and that'd be for subsistence farming, which is farming to feed your own family rather than to sell and market. Death rate will be rapidly declining as nutrition, sanitation, and medicine improve. Remember, those are the factors we talked about a little bit earlier in 2.4. Examples today are going to be Mali, South Sudan, and the Gambia. And there's not as many examples today, but there are still some. Still a young population due to a low life expectancy. Stage 3 is going to be our late expanding. So you'll see in stage 2 and 3, the high natural increase rate as that blue line on the map is going way up, and then it's going to level out later, but we'll talk about that later on. Birth rate is declining as urbanization decreases the need for child labor. So again, that's that lower rate of agricultural production due to mechanization and less of a need for more farm workers. And population change will be rapid but slowing as the crude birth rate declines. We're going to be looking at Mexico, Turkey, and Indonesia for modern day examples of this. Remember, just memorize 1 in your mind. You don't need all 3. You don't need a ton, just like 1 or 2. Population structure will be young with a rising life expectancy. So we're going to see people living longer here as a result of medical advancements. And challenges here, often lacking the resources to educate all children because you're going to have a high dependency ratio in terms of young people. You can see that on the population pyramid for Turkey in, I believe that says 2016, with a more not like a pyramid type style, but almost my teacher would call it a beehive, with a higher on the bottom and then slowly or quickly leveling out on top. Station 4 is going to be our low stationary. As you'll see on the demographic transition model up on the top left, you'll see that birth rates and death rates are very much declining, and that rate of natural increase is leveling out to then decrease in stage 5. Examples today: the United States is in this stage of the transition model for anyone who's in the US, and population structure will be balanced with more aging in preparation for stage 5, and challenges facing problems funding healthcare due to a high dependency ratio in terms of older people. So from stage 3, the high dependency is more young people, and stage 4, it's more older individuals due to that increase in medicine and that decrease in use for agriculture. All right, last one, best one, guys. Stage 5, declining. So you'll see that yellow line of birth rates slightly going below those death rates. So the population is decreasing, as you'll see that rate of natural increase line. The death rate, yes, low, sometimes increasing as population ages. Population change, very low decline as CVR falls below the CDR. Japan is going to be your best example for this, but Germany can be used too. And again, a very old population structure. If you look at that Japan map in 2018, that dependency ratio is very high in terms of the older individuals, which is very similar to stage 4, but it's even higher now with birth rates declining. All right, we're going to be looking at a practice MCQ real quick. We'll make sure to answer in that poll. We'll start the timer. What determines a country's progression through the stages of a demographic transition model? Let's remember those factors, guys. Even no worries, you're studying right now. Socioeconomic is going to be any social or economic factors that affect the population. Is it doing great? Doing great. Keep it going. About a minute left, guys. I'm seeing 77 votes, and there's 154 of you, so let's keep on going.
Also, I'm just seeing a lot of people being stressed out about the different demographic transition model names. It's not necessary, at least from my experience taking an exam last year, it's not necessary to know the exact names like declining, blah, 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 but you do need to know each stage and what each stage entails. And what I would do, especially if it's an FRQ, have some examples of countries for each different demographic transition model in your back pocket, so you can if they ask about an example, which they might, they'll say oh, what's a good example of a stage 5 country or something, you will want to definitely know some in the back of your mind. Okay, sorry.
No worries. Thank you, Megan. All right, awesome job, guys. The vast majority of you got that right. It's going to be those socioeconomic development factors. So awesome job. You really remembered those factors. Thank you.
All right. Hey, everybody. Appreciate everybody's hardcore studying tonight. You guys have been awesome. The chat has been very busy, active, all that stuff. Megan, Eliza, y'all have been awesome. So real quick, it's almost been an hour, and that means technically our preview time is up. I'm really, really sorry that we could not get to the cram quiz as planned. Technically, the preview night is kind of for this. We're kind of testing the waters, figuring out our pacing, figuring out how to best support you guys. And so and so we didn't get to get everything done that we wanted to today. We're really sorry about that. Some quick example or some quick comments and things like that before we wrap up. Um, Pardon me while I cut the sharing. Very cool. So first of all, again, I want to thank Megan and Eliza. You guys were awesome. Appreciate all your hard work and stuff like that. Before we bounce, before we end tonight's preview, I want to do a couple of things. Before I switch over, on the very bottom of the presentation screen, you can see there is a section that says, or a button that says "Find your slides and cheat sheets." Those of you interested in getting tonight's notes or anything else valuable is provided to you, it's located right there. Don't forget. Some of y'all have been asking a lot of information regarding things like how can we get the actual cram nights? How can we get more fiveable help? How can we do more work? Blah blah blah. If you want more fiveable help, get the cram mode. I believe earlier in the chat there was some preview. Some people mentioned things like pricing and stuff like that. It's super duper helpful. It's super duper useful. As a teacher, I recommend fiveable to all my students all the time. It's something that they find useful. There's quizzes. There's content. And if you pay for the cram mode, which, like I said before, the pricing is listed up there. You can get not only these preview nights, kind of given out for free, but you also get the actual 5 cram nights where not only are we going over more content, like all of the content, all 7 units, every single topic, we're also going to be providing you with exam study tips. And a lot of y'all are out here stressing, talking about what do we do for this? What do we do for that? How can we get this? How can we get that? Then the way you do it is come to those cram nights. We'll be going over test tips, how to practice multiple choice studying, how to practice FRQs. A lot of y'all worried about FRQs. We got you, but you got to come to these actual cram nights. All right. We can help out, but there it is. So, that being said, one more thing before y'all bounce. I'm gonna put a survey given to us by our homies at Fiveable, and there is specifically a survey kind of giving us feedback based on how we did tonight. If you guys don't mind filling out that survey to give us some quick feedback, make sure you click the right buttons because it's going to ask you what preview night did you attend. It's going to ask you stuff like that. Just make sure you follow through specifically on that. But we appreciate the honesty, the criticism. We're trying to do better by you guys, right? If you guys are coming to these cram nights, spending an hour or the actual cram nights 3 hours with us, we want to make sure we do right by y'all. So please fill out the survey as honestly as possible. Really appreciate your help. Big shout out also to Leah and Tejel for answering any comments, Q&A sessions, and or questions you guys had in that. And yeah, again, thank you guys for everything. It was awesome to meet you guys, hang out. Appreciate you guys. And April 29th, same time, 7 p.m. EST Eastern time, we'll be meeting here again for the April 29th preview session, right? It's a preview. It's a free one. All right. Appreciate y'all. See y'all then. Peace out, homies.